What's good? So, if you're watching this video, you are thinking of taking chemistry, gen chemistry, because you want to start a post-bacc program, or you're in the middle of a post-bacc program, or whatever situation you're in where you need to take these courses in order to get to a certain goal. For me personally, this is kind of more catered towards the pre-med path because of the fact that I am trying to go to med school next year. And I've already taken General Chemistry 1 and General Chemistry 2, and I ended up getting A's in both of those courses. At the same time, I was able to save a lot of money, and at the same time, I did a lot of steps that kind of set myself up to be in a good position where right now I'm doing a post-bacc at a university. So if you would like to hear some of this advice, some of these recommendations, then hear me out on this. And yeah, man, if you have any other insights about General Chemistry 1 and 2, let me know. I will talk about the content as well of the course. I just want to kind of start off with the best ways to actually end up taking the course, and then I'll kind of start talking about the content itself and maybe strategy you might want to take, especially if either you're someone that has a STEM background or you don't have a STEM background. For me in particular, I ended up getting my bachelor's degree in mathematics last year, and I decided that I didn't want to be a teacher. I decided I want to go into medicine. And so I did have a bit of an advantage in that because my degree is hard than most, I suppose. But I'll kind of get into it. So the first thing is where should you take general chemistry? In my opinion, if you have the ability to do it, I would recommend to take general chemistry 1 and 2 at a community college. If you took high school chemistry or whatever prerequisite is required to take it at a community college, the whole point in a post-bacc program is it allows you to cut and skip ahead of some of the courses that you need for med school without having to take the prerequisites for those classes. For general chemistry 1 and 2, I'm pretty sure for the most part, you don't need much prerequisites at all, maybe an introduction to chemistry course, but I think high school chemistry might qualify for it. I think it just depends in the area that you're in. Why do I recommend doing this? It's because you're going to save thousands of dollars. Community college also, I feel the general chemistry is usually easier, and I think it is better organized in terms of how it translates to you as a student. There's one professor for both the lecture and the lab. Whereas in university right now, I am doing a post-bacc where I'm taking organic chemistry and I'm taking cellular and molecular biology, where I have a professor for each one of those. So in turn, for those two classes, I have 4 professors. So in turn, I have basically 4 sets of homeworks, 4 sets of like quizzes and exams and all this stuff. Community college, you don't have to worry about that. Also, I do feel like if one professor has to run a lab, also run a lecture, I think they're more prone to either give you more homework in lecture or more homework in lab, not both at the same time. I think, they're human beings. They don't really want to drain themselves. It is pretty exhausting to, you know, teach a lecture and then do a lab. You're basically with that professor for about 5 hours. So at some point, they are human beings and they'll probably cut you some slack in certain things within the course. So therefore, I just think that it is very, very flexible and nice to take it to community college. Now, what did I do to get to this path? Well, I used a timing strategy, especially since I knew at that point when I was taking general chemistry 1 and 2, I hadn't started my post-bacc yet. I was in the waiting period to see if I would get accepted into my post-bacc. So if I kind of line it up to you by year, I decided that I was going in early 2025. I decided that I want to go ahead and pursue this post-bacc. And then I knew that there was a deadline to apply to the post-bacc program at the university I'm at that was due on October 2025, where you would receive your exception within a month and then you would start in spring. So you would start in January. So I used that waiting period to see, hey, what courses can I actually take before I end up starting that post-bacc program? And so I saw that I was able to take general chemistry 1, which then in turn, after I take that, I can take general chemistry 2. Also, for ecological biology, which is another course that I took in this waiting period, was I saw in different community colleges, they have different prerequisites, whether this course has one or doesn't. I went to 2 different community colleges during this waiting period that I would travel to because one of them allowed me to take the biology without any prerequisites, and then the other college allowed me to take general chemistry 1 and 2. And I think it's good to do that because A, it allows you to see how you're going to fare in these STEM classes instead of making a huge financial commitment already where you might feel even more pressured. I only spent about probably less than $800 on those three courses combined, taking it at a community college. Whereas if I took it at a post-bac program, it probably would have been like 4K to do that. So, that's up to you. I think being able to take as much of these courses as possible. So, in particular, in this video, general chemistry 1 and 2, take it at a community college if it is possible. You'll save so much money. For me, if I took a post-bac from start to finish without taking any of those prerequisites that you would need for med school, post-bac program would have cost me like $20,000. Instead, it's going to cost me $7,000. So I saved over half on what I'm doing right now. So that's just a recommendation in advance. I can probably talk about it in a different video, but I don't want to like kind of just fully talk about that. But while you're taking general chemistry 1 and 2 at a community college, that's going to be, at least for me, I did it in the summer, then I did it in the fall. So it didn't feel that long for me to do those. So if you can take it in the summer somehow, I would recommend do it. But my only warning is that you will probably be in basically a 9 to 5 situation. Because for me, taking general chemistry 1 in the summer, I was there from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Thursday. So didn't really have a life for those 5 weeks in the summer. But it's okay. I kind of like working a lot and studying. So just me. You can see the grit, the white hair. But while you're taking these two courses, I say you need to stack up on volunteering hours as much as possible. And you need to maybe look for a research opportunity and maybe try to shadow a physician. This is because I do feel that these classes, I don't want to I don't want to invalidate anybody, but I will say that between all of the courses that you're going to proceed to take to prepare for med school, those two courses are probably the easiest, especially for those who enjoy mathematics and like working with it. I am biased because I got a whole degree in mathematics, but since they are the two easiest courses, you should have no problem being able to work a job and maybe volunteer, do all those sort of things, whatever you need to do in that period. So let's say you need to work a job so you can save money so you can afford, more classes later on and stuff like that. Do it. Absolutely do it, do it as much as possible because it might get a little hectic later on. Just my recommendation. So now I'm going to talk about how to study for general chemistry, kind of a more bigger topic. The first thing that I'm going to differentiate between the two things, general chemistry 1 is, I would say, in my opinion, I actually think it's a little more difficult than general chemistry 2. Again, I'm not saying that they're difficult courses. I'm saying that one is just a little more difficult than the other. This is because, again, if you really like mathematics, general chemistry 2 really shines into it, where it's that sort of math where you have to just learn the pattern of how to approach the problem. Maybe there's a few little regulations and set rules, but once you just know the pattern, you'll be able to do the problems as long as you just repeat, repeat, repeat. That's the only way you study. The only way you study for that course is you just repeat, repeat, repeat problems, and then just hone your skills, because you'll probably just have problems that just have different numbers or a different this and that. Gen Chem 1, it is the same way to a high extent, but maybe there's just a little bit more conceptual things. Um, I I would say that Gen Chem 1, more conceptual plus recall from what you may have taken from high school chemistry if you did that. And then Gen Chem 2 is more predictable math patterns. My next thing is professors. You would have already known this, but most courses, especially in STEM, is heavily reliant on how your professor runs their course. Some professors for lab and lecture, they're going to show more relaxed grading. You might get that one cyborg that just is absolutely dedicated to making it the most rigorous course in the world. And that can either pay off in two ways. That could either make you a lot more disciplined and actually learn a lot from having the satisfaction of going through that absolute hell, or uh, it might just be super messy and horrible and unenjoyable. Me, I got very lucky. I had two great professors, and they didn't even have that high ratings on rating by my professor. They just happened to work well with me. Also, at the same time, I think it's just because of the fact that I actually interacted with them and I was very respectful and normal. I even shared my journey with them later on. It didn't even feel forced. It just ended up coming out where I told them about my journey of me already graduating with my degree, wanting to go to med school, taking this course right now to do that, and then just kind of my life goals. And it's not bootlicking, but it is just professional. And then you do stand out. You definitely do stand out as a post-bac person. And I think they really do appreciate that. And they are willing to help students that they recognize. So that's just kind of a general college tip, but it still applies here too. You're a post-bacc student, you're still in college. Be a real person, be a good person, and just be yourself. Professors are human beings. They understand that this is probably a really big step for you, a big change in life. And yeah, my next thing is labs. Now, the thing with labs is that first things first, make one friend at least. Just please make one friend. Please do that. If you're the most antisocial person ever, please just make one friend, because labs alone, in my opinion, they can be very miserable. I don't really see intelligence and lab skill as correlating with one another, because I knew people in my courses that were, the cream of the crop, getting the highest scores on the tests besides besides myself. But when it came to labs, they absolutely just brain shut off. Like they didn't know what was going on or really how to approach it. And, just having someone there, I mean, in general, even within like the lecture component of stuff, it's just going to be very helpful, because it's just going to help you with any kind of second doubts or anything of that sort that you might be unsure of when it comes to labs. Because this might be the first time that you return to the lab in a while, or maybe this is your actual first time doing a lab. And it's just going to be really helpful, because hands-on work can throw a lot of people off. And the adjustment matters a lot more than just wanting to just not talk to anybody. Now, when it comes to long-term prep, I recommend paying very close attention to Lewis structures, because right now in organic chemistry, they do return. And some professors, mine in particular, I'm very fortunate that he is kind of going through an entire general chemistry review before we actually begin some of the content that we're going to heavily go into. But some professors might not be like that. They might just say, you know what, you should have just known this, and we're going to jump straight into organic chemistry. I recommend Lewis structures. Look into them, take them seriously, trust it, trust the process, get good at it, just have some sort of basic foundation, and you will be fine. And then when it comes to resources, I recommend, absolutely recommend, finding the ACS style textbooks online. It's 2026. You can find any single textbook that's ever out there for any course for free online. You know it, especially those that watch those sports streams and all that stuff, like me, who watch it illegally and things like that. You can find a textbook as well online. Don't waste any money on a program or a textbook. Don't waste your money on that. Just find it online. ACS textbook, those practice problems online, they translate exactly onto the ACS exam. I swear to you, I think there was like 10 problems from the ACS exam practice book that I had online that I found for free. That was the exact same question on the ACS exam. For me, I got lucky. My professor was a bit of a professor that wanted you to know everything about general chemistry too. So when I actually took the ACS exam for general chemistry too, I got an A on the ACS exam, because of the fact that it was actually easier than the actual test that I would do. So I think that it really translates well to the standardized test, and highly recommend it. Find that ACS book online. You can also use it as a study tool while you're taking the course, even before you take the ACS exam. It's just a really helpful tool. Obviously, another one, no brainer, organic chemistry tutor. I used him the entire way. I never really watched any other YouTube videos. I only watched his method, and it was beautiful. Now, one more thing that I want to do, as I want to kind of go over my ranking of the easiest to hardest of the subjects within General Chemistry 1. Then I'll talk about General Chemistry 2. But I want to do it in a way where I tell you the easiest to hardest as someone who maybe likes math, and then I'll tell you the easiest to hardest as someone who doesn't like math at all. So, ranked from the easiest to the hardest, I would say if you like math for General Chemistry 1, if you like math, dimensional analysis in units is the easiest by far. Stoichiometry, number 2, easiest as well. Then we go into third, gases, and then we've got thermochemistry, we've got atomic structure, periodic trends, chemistry reactions and balancing, electron configuration, and now we're kind of getting into more of the harder aspects, more conceptual kind of things. We've got the Lewis structures, molecular geometry, bonding concepts, and intermolecular forces. So those four things you might want to kind of look out for. I think the first 8 though are pretty well to the most part. Now, for general chemistry 2, in my opinion, from easiest to hardest, I've got redox reactions by far is the easiest. Electrochemistry is second easiest. Kinetics is third easiest. Chemical equilibrium is the fourth easiest. Solubility equilibria is the fifth, kind of in the middle. Then we're kind of going into the more harder bits. We've got acid and bases, then pH calculations, buffers, thermodynamics, and then the hardest, if it is covered, it might not be covered in your chemistry 2 class, is coordination chemistry. So those were ranked from easiest to hardest for people who like math. So if you don't like math, just flip that around, those two parts that I just said. But my final talking point is general chemistry. It is more so about strategy, not your intelligence. It is about your repetition, being willing to practice these problems as much as possible. And yeah, these were kind of my pointers and tips about taking general chemistry 1 and 2 while you're on this post-bac mission. If you have any questions, let me know. I can talk about the biologies next if need be. Right now, I'm finishing up organic chemistry and cellular and molecular biology, so I'll probably overview those two individually next. But I did just want to talk about general chemistry 1 and 2 exclusively because of the fact that, well, I already took them. I got A's in both. And in of itself, that it is the beginning of that journey if you do want to go into a medical field. And if you do this path, good luck. You got this. It doesn't matter what background you come from. It's just about the amount of work you're willing to put in. But yeah, I'll catch you all.